Guys, I'm here to share with you a new electric vehicle, the Bow family EV. And no, it's not another Ford Lightning, and it's not a new Tesla, although it does have some autonomy. It's a new robot lawnmower from Ecovacs called the Goat 1000. Super excited about this thing. Last year, my family and I got to spend some time out in the Netherlands and in Norway, and I saw all these little robot lawnmowers scurrying about the neighborhoods and the yards out there in Europe. And it just blew me away how cool these things were. These autonomous vehicles going around and doing their lawns. Now, here in California, where I've got a 1950s ranch house, which has a very small yard, not like any of the things you might see out there in Texas or the Midwest or anything like that. This is going to be a very modest yard for sure. I'll show you in the back where we're going to get started in just a second. This should be no problem for that type of autonomous lawnmower. So I thought, man, I've got to get me one of these. And so for Christmas, my parents got me one of these Ecovacs Goat 1000 autonomous lawnmowers. And so I'm really excited to open this thing up, get it set up. It doesn't use any kind of wires around the perimeter. It uses a combination of LiDAR and a kind of GPS antenna. So we're going to see how that goes. I think the challenge is going to be seeing how it navigates getting from the backyard to the front between the houses. That will be interesting to see. And we'll go through the setup and the unboxing, all that kind of great stuff. And we'll let you see every step of the way. I am really fascinated by it. Up until now, I have used Ego lawnmower equipment, and I think it's been great. We have solar panels here at the house, so anytime I can go electric, I'm a fan of it. When we got here on the property, that's the first thing I did was went and got a bunch of Ego equipment with all the batteries. I still love this stuff, and I do imagine that I'll still have things like trimming to do around the edges on occasion. But if this can maintain and actually do all of this stuff for me during the week on the really hot days, and maybe, I don't know, once a month or even once every couple months, I can just do some maintenance around the edges to keep it crisp. And then this little robot can scurry about and do this, or even maybe even hit up a neighbor's yard. I mean, how cool would that be? So yeah, let's join together. Let's get this thing unboxed. Let's check out the Goat 1000. Okay, so you join me here in the backyard, and the plan is to set it up back here. I'm pretty sure if I set it up front that it would disappear overnight somewhere, and we don't want that to happen. This is going to be the perfect spot. I have an electrical outlet right here between the chimney and the sliding glass door for the family room. And right here is where I plan to set it up. We're going to put the base station, the charging station right here. And then we've got this little garage area, and this is where it will park itself as well. This will go over the base station or the charging station, and it will protect it from the sun during the summer, as well as the rain during the winter seasons. And then, of course, the unit itself, that is going to run on a combination of the LiDAR and then an RTK antenna technology. We're going to put that antenna up here on the pergola that's right above the camera that you cannot see right now, but that is going to hopefully give it good satellite coverage and allow the signal to go here to the backyard, which is not going to be an issue. But then this little robot is going to have to travel onto the other side of the house to reach that front yard area that we saw at the beginning of the video. And so that will be the interesting challenge, is how does it do starting back here in zone 1, covering this area, getting all of the edges and all of this area, and then traveling between the houses, getting to the front. And then we're going to have a zone 2, which is around that tree area we saw, and then zone 3, which is going to be that little kind of sliver between the sidewalk and the street. The space is not going to be an issue. As you can see, the square feet back here is relatively small. So this, as far as the battery size, is not going to be an issue. They do make larger versions of these, which go up and have more complex settings that allow you to do much larger spaces with bigger batteries and bigger yards. This is not something I'm going to need for my property, but certainly if yours is larger, they make much more advanced versions of these than what I will have. The cost does go up for those, and those were certainly out of our family's budget. Maybe if this video does well, so make sure you like and comment, give us feedback. All of that helps the engagement of small channels like mine. Maybe this will get the attention of Ecovacs, and we'll be able to see some of those advanced ones that we can test after this. Who knows? A small channel can dream. So Ecovac, reach out to me if you like this one. Send me some of your other cooler double LiDAR versions, and we'll look at those as well. But to start off, let's check out this one. Let's get it unboxed. Let's see what's inside. Let's get it set up, and let's get this little guy mowing. So I honestly usually don't like to go through a whole bunch of steps of unboxing, because honestly, who wants to sit there and watch 5 minutes of taking stuff out of plastic? But in this case, I'm gonna make an exception just because I thought this was so elegantly done that I just want to show you this for 30 seconds. So inside here, it's really simple. Just this top kind of comes off of there, a couple little pieces of plastic, and then this right here for the RTK antenna snaps together. And then this is super cool. What they did is they kind of put it all together with the charging base and the mower together kind of in one package that's easy to lift out of here. So I just wanted to point this out because it's so well done. And you just kind of take this and kick that to the side. It's got these handles down here, and you can lift this right out of the box really well like that. This is pretty cool. And then this just can kind of go over to position, and then we'll have to unwrap this out of the plastic and get the screws and everything to put this together. It's got the cord to plug into the outlet, and then the cable for the RTK antenna. But yeah, we'll take all of this apart, get it into position, plug it in, get the RTK antenna up, and then carry on from there. But I just thought that was so well done that I thought I'd show you that unboxing. There you go. So yeah, this is all there is to it. This is great. I am hoping that this ends up to be as easy as it appears. I'm probably jinxing myself by saying that right now, but here's what we've got in the box. There are some spare blades. There are already 3 blades installed underneath the unit. There are some extra screws in case you need those. Inside here, there is the instruction manual that you can check out. There's a pre-start guide that'll show you everything that's inside. A limited warranty that I'm sure nobody reads, and some other documents, FCC stuff that, again, absolutely nobody will read. With this will be the RTK antenna. The RTK antenna typically is going to go somewhere in the yard, somewhere in the dirt that needs to be close enough that you can plug it in to the base unit. And it also needs to have an unobstructed view of the sky so that it can connect to the satellites. It's usually going to go with this piece here. This is what sticks into the ground. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. Instead of having this screw into, it goes on this side, instead of this screw into here and then going into the ground, I'm going to again try to mount it up here on my pergola. So we're going to see if we can get that to go up there. And I believe this has a long enough cable that it will reach and go all the way down and plug into the back. So that's the plan. If it doesn't reach, I'll have to come up with a different plan, but for now, that's what I'm going to try to do. This will then plug into the back to provide power, and then the power outlet is just right around the corner, so that will be not a problem at all. And then there's just some miscellaneous clips and things here. So, oops, that's an Allen wrench. These clips will allow the cable that goes to the RTK to be secured down the pole. So that's what these will be for. And then these right here will allow you to stake down the wire along the dirt as it makes itself back to the base station. And then these will secure the base station itself, the charging plate, down into the ground as well, if you were going to do it into the dirt. Again, my plan is to just put it here on the concrete if I can get away with it. So we'll see how that works out. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to put this together and get it charging. I'm going to see if I can get the RTK unit up. We'll show you when all of that is ready to go so that we can set this up in the app and get this thing scanning the first zone and go from there. Okay, so far this has been pretty simple. I've got the RTK up on the pergola, and that was easy enough. I've got the base station down, and now it's time to scan it, get it set up, and see if it'll map the zones okay. Now we're gonna scan the unit and get this set up here. So on the app here, I'm just gonna hit screen record so you guys can see this and I can kind of overlay it here. So what we're gonna do first is we're going to scan the QR code, and right on the back of the unit here, we're just gonna hit that QR code and scan it. And it's gonna come up here, and it knows that the power is on. So I'm just going to click that I've powered the robot, hit next, and now it's got the flashing numbers here, which are at 0. I need to set a PIN code. So I'm going to do that. You'll put in whatever your unique PIN code is. It's going to have you put that in twice to make sure you've got it correct. Then you're going to click on All Set, click Next. Now it says press and hold the home button, release when the robot screen shows a 3-second countdown. So we'll do that. 1, 2, and 3, and it gives you a countdown. Now we'll release it, and we'll click Done. Now it's asking to find Bluetooth devices so that it can link to the robot. I'm going to allow anytime I am connected to the app. Now it's going to be looking for my Wi-Fi. Your Wi-Fi needs to be 2.4 so that it can connect like an Internet of Things. I have a separate Internet of Things segment of my Wi-Fi, so I will now select that. You're also going to, at this point, name your robot. For now, I'm just going to name it Billy the goat. He's going to chew up the lawn and keep it in good shape. You can always change that name later. I'm sure I'll find something more creative to call it in the future. It's going to now ask you what your time zone is. New Zealand is definitely not it. Here we go. Put that one in. That's updated. United States, there we go. I'm going to enter that. It is now going to prepare the charging station. Okay, now as we zoom out a bit, it's interesting because it is kind of telling you that you should put the base station on the grass, which I always find kind of strange because I don't want my mower on my grass. Maybe I'm crazy. Let me know in the comments what you think. But for me, I want my base station to be off the grass, and I want my grass to be the grass. Now, I know my grass isn't the most pristine thing available, but the whole point is for my mower to come out, mow the grass, and then go back to its base station. I have sprinklers and things that are going to be on watering the grass. Just seems strange that I would have my mower sitting on the grass, being watered, and just being out here killing the grass that's underneath it. So I am going to try and leave it off of the grass and see how this works. I have never been one to follow rules or instructions. We will see if this bites me in the butt and if I have to change this plan, but I am going to go with this for now, and we will see how this works out. But it does say that you're supposed to start with it on the yard in an area of grass, but as I said, that's not what I'm going to do. And of course, it needs to be close enough to your Wi-Fi that it can get your Wi-Fi signal, and it definitely is for me. So we're going to hit next on this. Then it says, make sure again that it's on a flat place of lawn, that there's no objects within 6 inches on either side, and make sure that there are no objects in front of it within 80 inches. And so, yeah, I've got nothing within, I would say, at least a foot on either side, and I've got nothing in front of it at all except for the lawn itself. So I'm going to now press next. The station location, you want to make sure that the grass is not any taller than 2.36 inches so that it can get off to a good start and start to mow it. So you may want to do a starter cut before you give it the first mow of the season when you're using the robot. I just did mine this past Saturday. So let's continue on from there. Plug in the power cable that's already done. Make sure that it's powered on and there is an indicator light. It is flashing, and we're now charged up to 78% state of charge. So that's great. And the next thing it's going to do is now prepare the RTK reference station. So again, usually the RTK might be somewhere in your yard, down here mounted to the grass, or maybe it's going to be off into an area of yard to the side, or over here to the side. It just needs to have an unobstructed view of the sky. In my case, it's mounted up here, so that should not be a problem. So it's already been assembled. We have got it connected, and we're going to progress through here and see what's next. Now it's going to prepare the robot. Let's see how many satellites that it sees. So right now, it is doing a position check. It says, please move the robot to the charging station for detection. The robot should be at least 1.5 feet away from any people to ensure a proper test. And it is. Estimated time to test the robot is about 2 minutes. So that's what it's doing right now. And we will see if there's any errors that it gives. Okay, so we got it to find the number of satellites that it needs between the robot and the RTK antenna. I learned quite a bit during this process, so I wanted to share some things with you. Even though you may think that the RTK antenna is unidirectional, and I suppose to some extent it is going to matter which direction you point it. So I wanted to show you guys a couple things. In my yard, there is a 2-story house over here. There is also a 2-story house behind me that you can't see past the trees. And even though I've got quite a bit of sky, there's a 2-story house, there is satellites that are facing primarily in the eastern direction, and there is some in the southern direction. And you can see I'm surrounded by homes and by some trees, and so that posed some challenges. At first, it was only able to see 19 satellites, and one of the things I learned in playing with it, you can see that what I did is I mounted it up here next to my weather station, is there is a blue LED, and that blue LED kind of gave me a directional point. And so as I would rotate the RTK antenna, just slowly, I would find that it would locate more satellites. So it would see more of the sky in the different direction. And that gave me more until I got where I could see about 25 satellites. So just some feedback there. Don't think that where you first set it up is going to be your only option. Give it a little bit of a rotation if needed. It needs to get at least 20 satellites. And at first, I was just simply moving it from point to point, but not rotating it. And it just kept getting 19 no matter what I did. And then as luck would have it, I gave it a rotation and it changed it. And that's when I started playing with it more and got it up to 20, anywhere from 24 to 26. And then that was a lot more encouraging. So now we are ready to go, and we are going to set up the zones. Okay, now with all that out of the way, it is time for the fun to start. Let's get this mower mapped. We're going to start here with zone 1 in the backyard, then we will move to the front. So let's get the app going. We're going to hit start mapping, and let's start clicking through. And it wants to make sure that it's going to check for the RTK signal detection that we talked about earlier. It's going to make sure that it is docked with the station, make sure that the battery is at least at 50%, and then it's going to need to connect with Bluetooth to the phone, and then it's going to move into position. It's going to be able to be manually controlled by the phone, and says the charging station's location is crucial for accurate mapping. Keep the charging station and RTK reference point in place. You don't want to move it from where you map it at. So if you ever move the charging station or the RTK location, you're going to have to remap your zones. So once you've done this, that's where you're going to be. Once you move anything for any reason, you'll have to remap. So keep that in mind. All right, let's continue on. It says navigate the robot to the starting position and tap start to start mapping. That sounds good. So let's get this thing started. And let's see, what do I want to call the starting position? I feel like this is pretty much the starting position. Let's get this thing right here. To me, no better place to start than the start, I would say. All right, so I have circled the backyard at what I admit is a pretty simple layout that we have here. There are no real obstacles to go around, nothing elaborate here. I even have along the fence line some simple brickwork that allowed the robot to kind of drive along it. So I'm curious if that will help it kind of get the edges a bit. Same thing along the fence line here. There's a little bit of brickwork there that will hopefully make it easy for the robot to go around the edges. I'm curious to see if it gets stuck or how that works, or how the LiDAR kind of views that and how it aligns itself with the grass. But went around the boundary, came back here to the starting point, and then, yeah, at that point, that will be our zone. So it says here I can also exclude an area if I wanted there to be a no-go zone, maybe a garden area or a statue or something that I wanted it not to deal with. But in this case, I don't have that kind of circumstance. Okay, so in the backyard, I did the mapping myself and manually drove it around the boundary. This time I am trying to do auto map. I am not sure if it's going to work. My thought was that because of the nature of this lawn and the way that it is lifted a good 3 inches off of the sidewalk, that it would be a good idea for the robot to try to learn the boundary itself and to recognize that it's got this lip around both the sidewalk here as well as around the street surface side, because it's going to be very easy for the robot to tip over, and if the wheels get stuck there, to get kind of in a rut. And I'm concerned that it's going to be, especially on its own, that it's going to be really easy for it to get stuck. And I think it's going to do it here if it's not careful. Forgive the traffic noise. I am on a busy street here. And here I do think it's getting stuck right now. I'm going to give this thing a little nudge. Let's see what happens. It's really struggling with this edge, and the fact that it's got about a 2 to 3 inch gap here where it's been edged between the sidewalk and the grass, and the fact that that edge is elevated another 2 to 3 inches above the sidewalk. The fact that this is not a flat surface really makes the robot struggle. So I do think that this, doing it automatically, I was hoping it would learn from this, but I don't think that the AI is quite smart enough to understand to avoid that ledge, which is what I was hoping. So I'm probably going to have to manually navigate around it and keep it kind of away from that edge, where in the backyard, I was able to use the brick kind of perimeter to almost go along it. Here, I'm going to do the opposite and almost be inset. Yeah, and the auto map did fail, so I'm going to do it manually and see if it recognizes if I control it and I kind of keep it a good 2 inches away from the perimeter. I also was noticing that it kind of cuts in on the inside and cuts this corner, which I will probably have to do as well, and when I set the boundary. So we'll see how that goes. Let's do it again where I do it manually like I did in the backyard. All right, so we're going to give this another shot, but this time we're just going to do it manually like we did in the backyard. Let's get it started and try to get zone number 2 all set. So we're going to hit the add button for zone number 2. We're going to set its starting point as right here. It will know its location relative to the base station in the backyard based on the satellites. And let's get it mapped out for zone 2. And I think it is much easier for me to keep it away from these corners where it's going to fall off the cliff here. We'll see when it actually comes time to mow whether or not it still has difficulty. However, there's also these little cutouts where I've got the sprinklers. So that's another spot, another opportunity for the wheels to get stuck and for it to have a moment where it can tip over and kind of slide off into the sidewalk area. But so far, to me, manually mapping this with something as simple as my yard is definitely easier than the auto mapping. Now I set the endpoint here, and that should be my area 2. And that was way easier than auto mapping it, because there I could really control keeping it inside the lawn space and keeping it from tipping over the side. So now let's see if I can do the same thing with area 3, because it will face the same problem of tipping over into the street or tipping over here onto the sidewalk and catching that edge where it's just lifted there off of the sidewalk. So again, I'm just going to add an area, and once again, I am going to navigate the Goat 1000 over here. Let's start at the corner, and let's get it going around. So right away, when I tried to have it go on this edge, I experienced already that the height of that lawn, the way it sticks up there, it had a difficulty getting up over that. So I'm going to start it over here where it is a much smaller lift and see if starting there makes it a little bit happier. But again, this could be a concern when it goes to actually cut this to see how it navigates that and whether or not it gets stuck. So that'll be an interesting test when we go to mow this tomorrow. All right, let's set the zone. So you saw there, it did have a little moment there where it kind of fell off the edge. This being such a narrow strip of lawn, I do think it's gonna have a real difficult time here with area 3. This is one I'm definitely gonna have to keep an eye on. So now at this point, the 3 zones are mapped, the backyard, the front yard with the 2 zones, but it's telling me now that they are not connected, so you have to now set a path. So in the app, it'll now say, do you wanna set a path? So this is where you now have to tell it how to get from one zone to the next. All right, so let's go. Let's hit start on this thing. Let's make it mow. Let's get the grass cut. Let's get the robot from beeping to moving to cutting. Let's make this grass go away. Well, let's trim it down. So let's see what the Goat 1000 starts to do. It's gonna back out of its little garage here, and we will see how it cuts. So I think the best thing here is just to set this up on a time lapse and just let you guys kind of watch it do its little back and forth, and that'll let you see how it does. All right, having now completed the backyard, it is now on its way to the front yard to do zones 2 and 3. Let's go up there and see how it does in the front. So here we go on our way to the front yard to do zone 2. Let's see how it handles this. We're gonna set it up once again with the time lapse and watch it do its thing. All right, so it is finished doing all of the center of the different lawn zones, and now it is attempting to do the edges. And so that's what you're seeing it do right now, is it's trying to make its way around the edge areas. Now this is a particularly difficult area, this narrow strip here. So it is a bit of a challenge because the available area here, especially here along the street side, is incredibly difficult where I have edged and it's only got a narrow strip there for the wheels. So it's having a very difficult time maintaining that area for it to be able to go straight on. So it'll be interesting to see if it is able to accomplish this task. This may be something that is not going to be able to accomplish and do, but let's see how it goes about trying to navigate that. But it was able to do basically 3/4 of it. And now I think it is moving on to this larger section, which should be quite a bit easier for it. So here we go. Now we see it setting up to do the edging around this larger section of the front yard. And it's basically going to make its way around the perimeter. As we flip it around, we can kind of watch it come down towards us here. And it makes pretty quick work of this edge right here. No problems at all. One more side to go, and then it's going to make its way back to the backyard to finish that up before returning to the charging station. I'd say that's pretty darn impressive. All right, little robot, what do you say? Let's head to the backyard, finish up the work, and get you recharging. It's like a little pet. Just kind of follows along behind you. So this is interesting. We are doing laundry, and the steam coming from the dryer vent seems to be confusing it, and it's not sure how to handle that steam. That is something I didn't anticipate. All right, now that we've helped it get past that steam obstacle, I think I have to move it back to the path. Okay, and now having completed its task, it's now going to head back to its docking station to recharge for its next mow. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna show you what it looks like at night. One of the great things is you're not restricted to just daytime mowing. You can actually do this in the middle of the night as well. So we're gonna show you that next. Now, if you thought to yourself, well, what if I wanted to do some nighttime mowing? That's not a problem at all. This thing is pretty darn quiet. You could be out here at 2 in the morning. It would not disturb a neighbor whatsoever. It would just come out here, mow the lawn. You'd wake up, you'd be all set. Now, the risk is, of course, that if it got stuck, you wouldn't know it. And if somebody, for some reason, saw it, wanted to kidnap the thing, well, that would be a bit of a problem. There is an alarm now. If it goes outside of the boundaries that you have set, it will go off. And of course, it wouldn't work very well for whoever took it, but it's always better to keep an eye on things if you can, especially if you're in an urban area like I live in. But it'll certainly work all night long for you. And if it gets low on the battery, it'll return to its base station, charge up, and resume the rest of the cut. So my concern of it getting stuck here on this border area when I was doing the zones seems to have not been a problem so far. It was cool to see that it didn't have any problems navigating around this tree. It's one of the few obstacles that I have in any of the zones that are in my yard. What it did was it simply went around and did the back end of the tree closest to the house, and now it's coming back here on the back end of the zone and cleaning up the area that's closest to the sidewalk. That's pretty much the last area here in zone 2 to hit, and then it'll be all done and move on to zone 3. So here it's moved on to zone 3, which is this narrow strip here. And for whatever reason, it's trying to do it on the most narrow part of the strip rather than go lengthwise, which just seems like it would be an easier way for it to go. So it just doesn't have a lot of area to go left and right. I'm not sure why it's trying to go that way, and that's definitely something that it's done in all of the zones here when it's trying to go at night. I wonder if there's a setting there I can play with to see if it will go the lengthwise, but the AI should recognize that, in my opinion. I think that would be a better improvement in the future, is if it were to know the zone and simply go the length of the grass or the lawn. To me, that would just be a more intuitively simple and better route to go. But that's my opinion. I don't know. What do you think? Is there any advantage or a reason you'd want your lawn to go in the more narrow direction? I don't understand that myself. Now that it's done with its final zone, it heads back to its charging station to get back to 100% and be ready for the next time it needs to mow. All right, so let's wrap up and talk general impressions here, starting with the front yard. I gotta say, this was so much fun. I'm going to love having this Ecovacs Goat 1000 It's going to be something that I use probably twice a week to maintain the lawn. It is not going to be a complete replacement. I'm going to say 8 out of 10. We're going to go around here. I'm going to show you a couple things here where it did well and a couple where I think it can improve. Let's flip the camera around. So I've got about 1,300 square feet of yard, both front and back, and I would say you can go to about 1,500 square feet and be okay on a charge. If you have more, that's okay. It's just going to go back to the base station, recharge, and come back and finish the job. But that is going to be about the scope, quarter acre or so, of what you can accomplish on this one. There are bigger models that will do more. As far as what it can handle, you can see it will use or it will leave some debris here. So you will have to go back and kind of just blow this away or sweep it up or whatever you want to do there. But it will go and hit up the edges, but it won't be as perfect as what you would do with a weed eater or an edger. But I do think that this is going to handle it and give me maybe a month or two between doing the edger. So that's pretty awesome. Now it does struggle when it comes to little areas like this here, this narrow ledge. It could not really navigate and keep its wheel directly on that ledge. So that's going to be something. There are a couple different directions that it can go. Those directions are relative to the base station. So I could either have it go this way or that way, or I could have it do crossways. There's also a setting where I can have it alternate, where it goes this way one time and then on the next mow go the other way. So there are different settings you can do that you saw in the video, but you can see I did one at night one way and I did one during the day a different way. So that is something that I discovered in the settings. But what you can't do is you can't say I want it to do this zone this way and the same for the backyard. And then here it would be better if it went this way. So I can't set that by zone. I think that would be a great improvement. So Ecovacs, if you're watching, it would be great if I could set this zone 3 to be this direction, which would be better because of this ledge, and then have the backyard and this section be lengthwise. So that would be just a couple areas of feedback on that. So let's head to the backyard and talk some more there. Narrow passages like you see here where you're between buildings and homes, this can be a challenge. So you really want to center your path as best as you can. You did see something interesting, which is the steam from the dryer vent got in its way. So that was an interesting observation there. Back here in the backyard, things like tall trees or two-story homes, these are all things that you have to be aware of when you're doing your RTK antenna. So just a reminder that as you're trying to find those satellites, you do need to get 20 of them. So just give it a little rotation and make sure that you can find all of those. Otherwise though, this backyard space was not a problem for me because it is so simple. But if yours is more complex, again, just take the time to make sure you get your zone right and get your path right, and that should not be a problem. It did a very good job, I think, of getting the backyard space. So super impressed. Again, I think this is going to be something that it maintains really, really well back here. So I'm super excited for this. I think it is going to take all kinds of time away, or give me back all kinds of time to my summer, especially when it's nice and hot. This is going to really maintain the lawn space excellently. So I'm excited for this. Don't forget there are cool accessories like this little garage home for it. This is going to keep it out of the sun and rain. It's not required because it is weatherproof, but I thought it was a cool little add-on, so I did get it for the robot. Again, like in the front yard, there is a little bit of debris left around that I'll need to go and blow, so I wanted to leave that for you to see. But again, overall, excellent job trimming the yard. There is not a dynamic setting for the head height. So again, kind of like I said before with the mowing direction, I can't tell it that I want a certain head height here and then a different head height in the front, because that is manual with the 1000. Now, it is adjustable with the higher trim levels that you get with the more advanced mowers. And so that is something that if you need it, you'd have to move up to the more expensive, higher trim levels, if you will, of the more advanced mowers. They do have also better LiDAR. So if you can go up a little bit in your budget, you're going to get some of those extra features that are not included with the Goat 1000. There are also a couple newer models to check out that are just about to come out and be released that have some advanced trimming options. So be sure to check out the website. I'm going to leave a referral link here. I don't get any kickbacks in terms of referral money. I don't have a sponsorship or anything with Ecovacs, but there are little, I think, perks and coupons I can get. Maybe if I get enough of them, I can combine them together and level up my mowing experience. But anyway, if you are in the market, I'll leave both an Amazon link and an Ecovacs link. Either way, it could benefit me and help grow the channel. If you leave a comment below and spread the word and share this video, all these things help my little channel grow. So either way, I appreciate you guys watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and walkthrough. Please leave a comment, share it, hype it up if you're on mobile. All of these things, again, really help the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had as much fun as I had playing with it. We will see you on the next one, guys.